Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to have folks here and to be able to present these three very interesting companies. Just a very brief word of introduction. My name is Robin Burgeon. I've been working in tech for almost 30 years by now, though I try to hide it. And I've done so mostly in Europe and mostly with SMEs. But really, the event today is about showcasing our guests. So I will jump right in and let them speak in turns. The way we're going to structure this is that we're going to go to each of those three companies for 20 minutes. And ideally, each speaker is going to present their product for about 10 minutes. Then I'll ask a few questions. People in the audience, by all means, ask whatever questions you may have. And the order that will go in will be Whereby, Proton, and Nextcloud. I'll be a little bit strict in keeping time. Just know that if you find, and I'm sure you will, these presenters to be extremely interesting and enticing, by all means, don't hesitate to reach out to them and get in touch for further detail. And having said that, we have an hour ahead of us, and I'll jump right to Andreas, if you're ready to jump in, who's going to talk to us about Whereby.
Yes, thank you so much, Robin, for the introduction, and thank you so much to the organizers for having me. Can I see the first slide, please? Thank you so much. So I'm Andreas Bovens. I'm based in London currently. I'm originally from Belgium, so you can probably tell from my accent that I don't have a British English accent. And I'm with Whereby. I've been with the company for about 4 years, joined initially in a product management role. I'm currently managing director for growth, so kind of moved more to the commercial side, which has been an interesting journey of itself. And so I'm here to talk to you today about Whereby, and it's also a great pleasure to see that we're using our platform to actually facilitate this session. So that is also very great. Crossing my fingers, everything goes well, and everybody can hear as well, hear and see as well. So let's dive straight in. Next slide, please. So Whereby is, this font looks slightly different from what I had in mind, but I don't know if we can do anything about it, but it works. We can get going. So we have been around for around more than 13 years. Whereby started as a research project in Telenor, Norway's telecom provider, and then was really an early adopter of WebRTC. I think the initial version, and the software was called Appear.in at the time, was even predates Google Meet or Google Hangouts as it was known at the time, in its usage of WebRTC to facilitate in-browser video and audio calls. So of course a lot of things have happened since then. We've spun out of Telenor, joined another company called Videonor, and the whole thing was rebranded as Whereby. We are currently fully remote. A lot of us are in the UK. There's also quite a bit of people still in Norway. We have folks in Sweden, Hungary, in Berlin, some folks in Amsterdam, etc. And so we, as you can see, it's a picture of us meeting in person. This happens once a year for a couple of days. In our day-to-day life, because we're fully distributed, we use Whereby, of course, a lot to communicate and collaborate with each other. And we have every quarter a virtual offsite, essentially, where we try to work together, do some hacking together, and get to know each other in different ways than through work. So we build a product that is focused on reliable, secure, and lightweight video calls. And we focus a lot there on building a great user experience. And so that has worked because we're being used by top companies across healthcare, e-learning, recruitment, and a number of other verticals. So let's go to the next slide. Our purpose is really to create a world in which anywhere works. What that means is that you can be anywhere and you can connect to your colleagues, family, friends, perhaps your doctor, your therapist, etc., from whatever device you have with you. And you can easily connect through video and audio simply through a web browser. And so we're on a mission to empower telehealth and other businesses to connect seamlessly through video calling, enabling them to unlock their full potential. That's kind of the mission that drives us forward. Let's look at the next slide. So as a fully remote company, we have these values. I'm just sharing them here. Perhaps some of you are building remote cultures yourself, and so this helps us guide our work. I'll just highlight one of them here. Proactively transparent. We've seen that it's important to be very transparent with what we're doing. Proactively share, perhaps overshare sometimes, because it's not always obvious when everybody's at a distance. And this helps us get our best work done, essentially, and create alignment and build a good product. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, what we offer are browser-based calls on desktop and mobile. You don't need any download. You just can use a web browser, give your browser permission to access the camera and the microphone, and then you're good to go. And so we've seen this works very well in a number of contexts. We all know this also since the pandemic. I think everybody's become very familiar with using this kind of communication. And so we offer a product basically that gives room URLs that are locked rooms with a waiting room option, which is important in particularly in healthcare, I would say. We're GDPR compliant, we ISO 27001 certified, and we have a global media infrastructure, a global mesh of media routers that help us connect everyone with good speed and low latency. And with European data storage, being a European company, all our data is stored in Europe. Next slide, please. And so we have two products. One is called Whereby Meetings. This is aimed at businesses and professionals. We offer instant video calls, permanent room links, a set of essential features, and also basic customization. So you can brand your room, you can use your own logo, your own background, etc. This is sort of our Whereby Meetings product. And so for that, it's basically a subscription-based product where you buy a subscription per user. We also have a usage-based product that's called Whereby Embedded, where you pay for usage, a certain volume of participant minutes, as we call them. This is mostly for platforms and websites. So if you want to have integrated video calling inside your platform on your own URL, or perhaps with some additional context around it, that is possible. So you can integrate our iframe or either build a completely custom UI, if you will, using our SDK. You can do programmatic room creation. You have an extensive feature set, and also can do very advanced customization, either using our pre-built and toggling on and off features that you want or don't want, or going all the way the custom route using our SDK and building a completely custom UI. Next slide. So why Whereby? We aim to be user-friendly. We spend a lot of time on building good UX and focusing on that, making it easy for novice users who haven't used our product to understand it and start using it. We focus a lot on clear, reliable calls. People call in from all kinds of situations. They're often on the go. We see this a lot in even healthcare context. People talking to their therapist, being on the go from their cell phone or maybe in the comfort of their couch. You still need to be able to support these scenarios. So it's not always desktop, people sitting in front of their camera like I am now, but they might be on the go. Call reliability, and it's still important. We're of course private and secure. We offer fast human support. We've seen this is important when building developer experiences. Developers sometimes need a helping hand. They're stuck with something. And so being there ready to help them out is important. We have flexible pricing options and are also really easy to embed. So we focus a lot on good DX developer experience as well. And of course, and that's why we're here today, we're made in Europe. Next slide, please. So some of our features, we have waiting rooms. So as you can see there, this is just a small screenshot of such a waiting room where you basically enter in you can set up yourself, make sure you're ready for the call, and do a quick test of your connectivity, etc., and then knock in the let's say your therapist on the other side, the person on the other side will admit you. Breakout groups we've seen to be very useful in e-learning contexts. People join with many people in a room. Many students, professor, for instance, the teacher can break them up in smaller groups to go and discuss a topic or work on something, do a smaller workshop, and then come back into the larger room and share their findings. So we've seen that this pattern works really well, it's very popular, and so we support that as well. We've invested in meeting diagnostics. Even in this meeting, you can see it. There's like a little toggle in the top right corner. You can click on that, have a look at what's going on, especially when you're in challenging network conditions, or even if your CPU is overloaded. We use some new browser APIs there to kind of show that and to help people out when their connection is struggling or their video or audio is struggling. And of course, we also support camera effects because we all sometimes want to hide what's behind us, especially when we're on the go. So that's also supported in browser, works on mobile as well as desktop. And of course, many more things. Next slide, please. So how we're different from Zoom, Teams, and Meet. As I already said, no downloads, even on mobile, just you need a web browser. We focus a lot on reliable calling quality. We've seen that that's sometimes a challenge with some of the incumbent solutions. We have a very lightweight UX. It's really easy to integrate into platforms, websites, and apps. We have custom branding, configurable feature set. You have a choice between subscription or usage-based pricing, and we have European data storage, unlike some of those other alternatives. So coming to the last slides, and I'm looking at my clock. So we have a global customer base. A lot of our customers are in Europe. We have Accurex, Doctor, Ensemble. They are big providers in the telehealth space. They're providers to the NHS. So customers of ours, so they use our solution inside of their product. We have Nilo, for instance, in Germany. Dendrio is an e-learning provider in France. Bravo, a big digital mental health platform in Italy that is powering all their sessions through Whereby. And then if you look at the next slide, we see also, so we have a lot of customers in the US as well. Some that stand out are Kajabi, for instance, e-learning platform, Tebra as well. And then particularly in Canada, Adricare and Jane. Jane is a very large company, jane.app, and they power a lot of practices, doctor practice and all kind of practices in Canada and North America or the US. And so all of their telehealth sessions are also now powered by Whereby. And so it's been a great collaboration. So that's it in a nutshell, I think, if you go to the last slide. So you can discover more at whereby.com. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. This is my LinkedIn QR code. So feel free to contact me there and speak to me about your use case or ask your questions right now. Thank you so much.
This is great. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's working really well right here. Like, there's zero problems for a call with quite a few people listening in. That's super interesting. I have a bunch of questions that I see a few questions on the chat as well. Again, if we don't get through all the questions that people have, of course, like, feel free to reach out to Andreas afterwards. I think that there's one question about embedding, on-premise, an on-premise offering. I assume that is something that is challenging to provide, given that you have like a global media network. But do you have, like, maybe, since you have an embedded solution, do you have like partially on-premise, like maybe like storing the data with someone or that kind of offering?
So at present, we don't have this yet. So we don't have an on-premise offering at this moment. Of course, we're looking at data storage and so on. If we can further partition this or do it more specifically, perhaps even in different regions. For now, we don't have an on-premise offering, unfortunately.
People ask questions because they're interested in features. So that's.
Of course. Yeah, that's a good question.
And so one thing I'm curious about is you mentioned WebRTC. I'm sure that not everyone on the call knows what that is. It's essentially the standard that makes it possible for browsers to exchange audio and video with one another in a more peer-to-peer fashion. And so this is not the easiest technology to master and deploy at scale, right? So despite it being a challenging piece of technology, you've built, a world-class expertise around it and built a successful business around it. So I'm interested. Can you tell us a bit like what it's like to develop that kind of world-class expertise as a small company?
Yeah, of course. So, a little bit about the WebRTC standard. It was basically um, an attempt by browser makers, and quite a successful one at that, to bring basically video and audio capabilities to browsers. A lot of things had to fall into place there. You of course talk about the permissions. Giving browsers access to camera and microphone was initially, I remember this because I worked at browser companies. I used to work at Opera, which is a European browser maker, and later on at Mozilla. So there's a lot of nuance and very careful maneuvering there, because of course there's lots of privacy concerns around this, to kind of get the permission system, well defined and in right place and with the right implemented in the right way in these browsers. But then also the WebRTC protocol itself was critical to kind of make that peer-to-peer communication, and also later on, so we use what we call an SFU, which is a selective forwarding unit, or a mesh of SFUs. These are basically media router servers all across the globe that help especially large groups of participants, like today, connect. Peer-to-peer is useful in situations of up to 4 people participating in a call, perhaps. But if you want to connect a larger group of people, you will need such an SFU in the middle to kind of mediate and kind of optimize all the traffic, because otherwise you send too much data back and forward for no particular reason. And so we had a team that is specifically focused on, dealing with like building out such infrastructure, scaling it effectively across different regions, and then of course there's a lot of with WebRTC, the devil is often in the details, because you deal with different browsers, different operating systems, and a lot of these browsers have nuances and their own quirks essentially. And so we had to build out a team that was very specialized and willing to kind of tackle these different problems, because it works slightly differently in Safari, from Chrome, from Firefox. And so all of these, of course, there's a common set of standards that are being supported, but there's always little nuances and so on that you have to work around, or that you have to keep in mind when developing for this. And so that's really the challenge we had when building out our team and our expertise. But so that's what we try to focus on, and we've managed quite successfully, essentially, to do so. I would say.
You have. No, that's why I was curious about the question, because I know that it's a significant technical challenge. It's no small feat to master the technology. It's no small feat for a relatively small company such as yours to also deploy infrastructure with a global footprint. But it's absolutely worth it in terms of user experience, right? Not going to name any competitors, but in some of the other solutions, when you open the app you had to install, the moment the meeting starts is when it says like, oh, hang on, I'm going to update right now, and
Exactly.
then you're 5 minutes late for the reason. Or you have to jump through a million like login loops or whatever. With Whereby, you just know that you click the link, your browser opens, and you're in the meeting.
And that's it. And so that has been very important for us to sort of build all of this inside of the web browser, because it's such a low hurdle essentially for people, and it makes it so easy to join a call, right? So that's been the focus, to be very web standards focused and browser centric essentially.
Yeah, and so one last question before we move on to the next. It's in part it's a blend of a question I had and a question we have in the chat. So the chat question is do you find that the Made in Europe aspect is a selling feature for different companies? And I'm also curious Because I know, especially since you work with health companies and educational companies, I know you're very strict with your GDPR compliance, right?
Yeah.
And so, as someone who's had to deal a lot with that, I'm curious, like if the European nature and the strong privacy compliance are things that you find to be like selling features for your customers.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we highlight a lot in our communication, and it does resonate with our customers for sure. And so we've seen also now recently, sort of with the kind of changing climate, also of transatlantic relationships, that this we see more interest all of a sudden. It is. It's hard to say if this is a direct correlation, but it definitely comes up more frequently in conversations with customers, and that it becomes more and more of a selling point, I think. Definitely compared to a couple of years ago. We've also seen, for instance, that there's more and more of these overviews of lists of software alternatives to US-based solutions, for instance. We see our name pop up there quite frequently, and so yeah, it seems to resonate, and I think it will probably increase in importance, because we have really good products in Europe, right? So it's a pity to not use them, and so I think more and more companies are coming to realize that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Andreas. Great presentation.
Thank you so much.
And I hope, I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be very interested in Whereby. We'll switch now to Romain, who's going to talk to us about Proton. So Romain, take it away. Please introduce yourself and jump in.
Thanks a lot, Robin. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to represent Proton here. So I'm Romain Dignot. I'm based in Brussels, so Belgium is still represented, Andreas. And I work for Proton on public affairs issues. So I guess we can go to the next slide, and to the first slide. Thank you very much. So Proton is a Swiss company and was actually born in Switzerland in 2014. It was born because of two different events, in a way. Following the Snowden revelations, our founder, NDN, who is a physicist and who used to work at the Center for Nuclear Research, realized with a few colleagues that we were in real need of a truly secure and private service to communicate, an email service. Then the second realization was that over time, especially on the internet, we have traded privacy over convenience. So we have a lot of beautiful products today that you all know from big tech. They are very polished. They are very cheap, if not free, actually, to use. However, we all know on this call, I guess, that there is a catch. And this catch is that they harvest your personal data, your professional data for their own benefits, and without you being fully aware of what is being done. So our goal at Proton has been to, first of all, try to restore an internet, or I don't know, restore if it has ever been the case, but try to have an internet where the privacy is the default and where every single individual user can control its own data. And the second idea is to make this really easy to do and possible for everyone. You've always been on the internet, or in terms of software that is extremely private, designed to keep your information secure, but it's sometimes hard to use, or you need to at least have a strong interest into it to juggle with all the parameters. Our goal is to make products that could be big tech products in a way, but make them easy to use and convenient so that we can fulfill our mission. So the different numbers on Proton, we have more than 100 million active accounts today, serving users in more than 180 countries. Also, we are more than 500 employees, in a vast majority based in Europe, Our main offices are in Geneva and Zurich. We also have offices in London, Paris, Vilnius, Prague, one office in Taiwan as well, mostly dealing with anti-abuse to make sure that there is 24/7 human beings that can respond for these situations. And something that is not in the numbers, but is also very important, is that we control our own infrastructure. So we do not rely on AWS. We do not rely on Microsoft or on any of these providers. We have everything in-house. All our servers are in Europe. We have servers mostly in Switzerland, but also in Norway, for example. And yeah, that's extremely important for us. It's a burden in a way, in terms of costs, in terms of management, but we think that it comes with having a fully private and secure service. Okay, thank you. So privacy and end-to-end encryption, they are, of course, an integral part, is not a keystone of our offering. To say it quickly, end-to-end encryption, the goal of this encryption protocol is to make sure that only the sender and the recipient of an email, for example, can have access to it. You will see on a lot of services like Gmail or Outlook that they say your email is encrypted or your communication is encrypted. However, while it is encrypted in transit, it is not encrypted when it lands on the company servers, which allows Google or Microsoft to perform totally legitimate tasks like looking for spam, for example, slightly less legitimate tasks, depending on the point of view, such as scanning your communication to serve you for better, more personalized advertisement, for example. So the goal for us is to make sure that no one, even ourselves, can have access to your communication or your files or anything you would have within our own ecosystem. To make sure that our promises are not just promises, all our products are open source, so everyone can go and have a look, and they are also independently audited by third-party experts. In terms, very quickly, of business model, we say that we don't want to have a look at your personal data. We are not interested in it. And this is supported by the fact that we have absolutely no advertisement on our services. So our services are freemium based, which means you can use freely the basic versions of our products. They are listed here. We have an email service, a calendar, a file storage, VPN, and a password manager. However, if you want to support the mission, then you can have access to the full-fledged service in exchange for a subscription. It can be a subscription to one of the products or to the full suite, if you wish to. Here we have included a bit more details on our technologies and what we do to keep you secure. I will probably not spend too much time on that, but while end-to-end encryption is really the key cornerstone of our offering, we realize that it's not enough. If you want to keep a user safe, it's very efficient to make sure that private company will not exploit your data without your full consent and knowledge of it. However, it doesn't prevent you from other more aggressive sorts of attacks. So in terms of services, we have Proton Sentinel. It's a service that combines machine learning as well as human oversight to make sure that there is no login attempt on your account that is, let's say, with dodgy, that goes out of the ordinary, and that could mean that your credentials were compromised. NetShield, it's a feature on our VPN that blocks ads, but also prevents users from going to phishing and malware-infested websites. And FishGuard is a feature to make sure that you do not receive spam and that we could try to rule out any phishing attack on emails you receive. Next slide, please. So why should a business want to switch to Proton? Well, for all the reasons outlined before. And this slide actually provides you with a summary of it. We are CIS-based, which means that we respond to the strong Swiss privacy framework. Switzerland does not cooperate with other foreign intelligence agencies, which is also a source of a lot of information exchange, and that's something that can be interesting for a business. We support compliance. We try to be as transparent as possible, and most of all, you to be empowered with your own data to make the choices that matter the most. Next slide, please. But this all sounds maybe very alarmist, right? I mean, okay, of course, some people can host extremely confidential data, but okay, maybe you have a few medical appointments on your personal accounts, but things that you think are not that big. So is it really necessary, all these measures? Well, obviously we think they are, and I have here a few press snippets that are taken from the last few days. One showcasing that a recent cyber attack will cost Marks and Spencer more than 300 million in lost profits, and it's a big company. Like, you can imagine what a cyber attack can do to a small business. A lot of them to go actually out of business after cyber attacks. Another one showcases that Google now wants Gmail Smart Replies to use AI to pull context from your inbox and from Google Drive, meaning that all the files you have on the emails, you have on Gmail and the files you have on Google Drive will be scanned to train Google's AI, which can be a concern if you host very sensitive data on your accounts. And the last press snippet shows that even if a tiny bit of data leaks, for proper experts, it's very easy to just recoup the rest, which showcase how important it is for you to make sure that your data is secured. And actually, a last piece that is not included here, but that I read yesterday on an article, it was disclosed that Russia recently targeted companies that are involved in providing assistance to Ukraine with cyber attacks. And these companies are, of course, military companies, but it's also air traffic. It's also just logistics company, transports companies, which shows that state actors is not such a remote threat. It's a proper threat and it's a proper risk for a lot of businesses. Next slide, please. So how can you make sure that all the beautiful promises we make are being kept? That tomorrow we don't suddenly change business model, go full into AI and train our data on everything we host? Well, we decided to make sure that we keep our promises to create the Proton Foundation recently. The goal of this foundation is to act as the main shareholder to Proton, the company, to make sure that even if the company, which is currently private, was to go public, this company could not be influenced by investors, and that the company doesn't change its mission, mission being user-centric and being to ensure that you are in control of your data. We do not have any venture capitalists. It's really a fully private company for now, but we just want to make sure that it stays that way. Next slide, please. So here, very quickly, to sum up, a lot of people and companies trust and support Proton. We've been historically mostly a B2C-centric company. We have a lot of privacy activists that are already Proton users, a lot of public organizations as well, international organizations, journalists. And now we are going more into the business side of things. And we see a lot of interests from businesses. And we hope that we can support you if you decide to switch to Proton and to help you to switch to our services. And this is just a few testimonies. I guess I probably overpassed my time, so we can go to the last slide, please. So thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, don't hesitate to contact me if you want to have more information, if you have questions and requests that I can relate to my colleagues.
Thank you. That's really great. Lots to cover in there.
Sorry.
No. Don't apologize, because it's a very interesting offering. I don't know if you can see the chat. There's a number of feature requests from your users in the chat. I'm not going to relay every single feature request. I think you can probably take those back home. It just shows that you have an active fan base and they want more. But so one aspect that I thought was interesting in your presentation is when you talk about the threats to SMEs, and state actors are definitely a real threat. Another thing that I've seen personally happen a few times is just flat out espionage. There's lots of companies out there that look like they're offering and that are offering what looks like a pretty innocuous service. Some of them really big, some of them pretty small, but they resell that data as intelligence to other parties. And it's incredible what can be inferred with in fact very little data initially. And also in terms of like cybersecurity attacks, I've seen the classic thing is people breaking into email and like changing supplier payment coordinates, that kind of stuff. A thing I've seen recently is also like a small insurance broker who had their just like clients database stolen, which seems like relatively harmless for them. But then the criminals used that in order to find elderly people on the insurance list and then scam them using that information. So there's all kinds of ways that people don't think about that make this challenging. Are you finding that there's sufficient awareness amongst SMEs of the threats that are out there, or are people like still a little bit too naive or maybe too scared even to find out more?
I guess you don't want to think about it, right? That's not the one thing you want to think about. I think that there is more and more awareness of it, but everyone thinks, why my company? Why me? I'm just like my own lawyer. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. How am I interested to these big criminal groups? Why? So for us, I think that's one of these challenges that we try to address. And honestly, our business offer is not so much tailored now for very big groups or very big institutions, because they have very often IT services of their own who can come up with very tailor-made solutions. For us, the goal is more to secure these small SMEs that want something as easy to use as the Google Suite or the Microsoft one, but also realize that maybe it's not great if all your trade secrets and business deals are hosted in a US or on servers owned by US companies. And given the current context, it can be very problematic. So that's really these segments that we try to address, because again, we've been mostly a B2C focused company. And to be honest, between B2C and B2B, it's very different products that you have to offer. So we are slowly getting there. But that's why we try to have this sort of foundation, say, of businesses we want to address, and we want to propose easy and cheap solutions too.
Right. And so I'm also curious, like cryptography is an area of pretty intensive and cutting edge research, right? And a lot of the time, historically, strong cryptographic tools have not been very easy to use. I'm thinking people old enough to remember PGP and key signing parties will be able to say that it used to be really, really bad. And so I'm curious, can you tell us a bit about what it's like to make all this like cutting edge, mathematical research essentially usable by regular people?
Sadly, I'm not a specialist. I'm not an engineer. I can tell you that it's very difficult. that is for sure. It's extremely difficult, yes, to make it look as easy as it is. I know that like we offer a calendar, for example, and as an outsider, you're like, okay, how hard can it be, a calendar? But it's extremely, extremely difficult, actually, in terms of interoperability, in terms of integrating other services, making sure that all this extremely sensitive information that is in a calendar, you have addresses, you have times, you have your full life on a calendar, that this can be protected. So we are continuously developing new solutions. We are very involved in discussions around PGP, I believe. If I'm not saying anything stupid, we try to contribute as much as we can on those, to move to post-quantum cryptography as well, very slowly, because this is something that is still a few years ahead of us, clearly, in terms of threats, but that needs to be addressed. So we try to make our products better and to catch up with the competition, which has a lot more means than us, and at the same time to work on the foundation of our products and on how they are being built. And it's sadly not something people see, but it's really something that is still very important, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people see is that the product works and that they don't have to worry about it, even though, yes, most people don't understand how bad calendaring is, even without trying to make it private. So yeah, but my deep sympathies to the team working on that. I know it's extremely challenging. And so one last question before we hop to the next. You mentioned something that's also I found quite interesting, is that you control your own infrastructure. And that's, again, that's not a small undertaking for 100+ million users. And so I'm curious, I mean, I completely understand why you wouldn't go to one of the big cloud providers today for very obvious reasons. I'm curious, can you imagine a world in which you might rely on an infrastructure provider because they are, they provide sufficient guarantees, and so that, because like it's fine for you to build, that whole stack that goes like as deep as you've gone because you're a relatively large SME. But it would be great for much smaller companies to be able to do the same, and it's a major undertaking. So, do you think that this is something that might happen? That some providers are surfacing who would be trustworthy to anyone at the degree that you would expect?
Again, here I'm not a specialist, and I'm pretty sure that there are European solutions already and providers that are secure enough and that provides this. I think so. For us, it's actually, if I'm not mistaken, from the start that we have been in control of our own infrastructure. So it's part of the first legends of Protons that we had our servers in a former Swiss-based army in a mountain. Sadly, it's not the case anymore. We moved our servers, but that's where we hosted our infrastructure, and it was really difficult. But yeah, I think, as you said, it provides us a bigger degree of control, a bigger degree of certainty also, and just stronger guarantees to our customers, which want the highest privacy protection possible. So for us, it's a burden in a way, but it's also a competitive advantage, if we can say it that way, and something that we showcase to people and that we offer that. Again, another proof that we just don't throw empty promises in the air.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Romain, for this excellent presentation. And we now jump to Frank for Nextcloud as our last presentation. Please take it away.
I hope you can.
Presenters. It'll
Yes.
take a split second.
Sorry for that. I hope you can see me, hear me? Fine.
Yes, it's all good
Okay,
now. I no longer see
Okay,
like 200
perfect.
pictures of myself. It's great.
Exactly. Great. Yeah, thanks a lot. There's this saying here that data is the new oil. I think we all heard it before. It basically means that oil is, of course, the building block of the old economy, and data is for the new economy. And I think this is partly true when we move into the future. But of course, the question is, okay, we all know where the oil is coming from, but where is the data actually, right? Where is the data coming from? And we did some research, and it's actually there. Right, it's quite easy to find. This is obviously Silicon Valley. This is where all the big tech companies are, and this is where the building blocks of our future are. And this is, of course, a bit of a problem that we have here. So what motivated me to create Nextcloud is that I wanted to have an alternative to these 5 big guys. Because I think it's really important to have your data under control, have some open source alternative, and have a European solution. So we are a collaboration suite. We are direct competition to Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. So we have similar components. We have Nextcloud Files for file sharing, Talk for chat and video conferencing, Mail, Calendar, Contacts, and Groupware, and Office, of course, all under the umbrella, the name of Nextcloud Hub. So that's like the name. The difference is obviously that we are European, also that we are 100% fully open source, and that we can run on premise. So this is a bit of maybe the difference to my 2 presentations here in front of me, and where these are SaaS solutions, which is of course great. We are focusing on premise alternatives. So actually, in fact, we as Nextcloud don't even do hosting at all on purpose, because we want to decentralize the internet. We want to encourage other people to host solutions. So we give Nextcloud as a software to everybody, and they can put it on their own service, or they can put it on infrastructure they trust. So let me now go through the functionalities a little bit. So this is, of course, Nextcloud Files. You can upload, download your files, put in folders, like tag them, search them, manage them, share them with others, synchronize to all your other devices as you expect. So quite a powerful application we have there. Then there is Nextcloud Talk, which is a direct competition to Teams. So it can, of course, have these group chats with all the usual features you expect. You can drag in files, edit in collaboratively together, have your appointments there, have polls there, everything you expect. But of course, you can also press a button and it turns into a video call for a webinar or a group call or one-to-one call. We also have mobile apps for that. So you can have your phone, iOS or Android, pinging you. If you get an incoming phone call, you can participate in the calls, everything you expect from a solution like that. It's also really direct competition to Teams with phone integrations, breakout rooms, with call recording, with AI features, so everything you expect. Then, of course, we have the other things like a calendar, which is a direct competition to Outlook or Exchange with all the sharing and working together and collaboration features you expect. There's a full built-in mail solution. So there's a mail solution with all the usual features like GPG, front-end encryption, searching, managing, filtering, and everything you expect from a solution like that. There's a project management tool for Kanban-style project management tasks. There's a whiteboard that also works like everything collaboratively, of course, where people can together like draw your ideas there on this infinite canvas. There's Nextcloud Office, which is a full built-in Office suite that can open Word, Excel, PowerPoint files and can also work collaboratively there with different cursors working in the same document, fully integrated. There are also a lot of AI features we integrated and can do face recognition and can do dictations. You can recommend related resources to you, smart inbox, email, everything you expect. In Mail, we also have a feature that you can summarize threads. So maybe if you come back from vacation and you have 1,000 mails, it's very helpful to get summaries of different threads there. It can also identify important emails and can also identify mails that still didn't answer from you and can propose answers to emails. So everything you want nowadays from a fully integrated AI solution. For video calls, of course, it can do call recordings and can do transcripts, and it can also generate summaries of a call. So maybe you missed your team call, then you can later look into the summary and you can see what was discussed there. This works really, really quite well. There are other features in Nextcloud Talk in the chat where maybe you come back from vacation again and you have a chat room and you see, oh, there are 1,000 unread messages. Who has the time to read all of that? But you can press a button and get a nice summary what was actually discussed while you were not there. So it's very helpful. Yeah, so overall, this is a full replacement to Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. But of course, most of our customers, they work in a shared environment, right? They still have some Microsoft tools, and then they have some nice open source Nextcloud tools. And it's usually the combination that is used, at least for a transition period. This is why we have full integrations in all the Microsoft tools, like from Outlook to Exchange, to Teams, Windows Network Drive, and so on. So you can actually run Nextcloud in a mixed environment with Microsoft tools and our tools together. Obviously, the real solution would be to fully use Nextcloud. And that's, of course, then you have the full European locally hosted open source alternative. Some customers examples. So Nextcloud is like super scalable. For example, some of you might know a service called Magenta Cloud. It's done by the German Telekom. So this is a service that has over 3 million active users, and they're all using Nextcloud in a white labeled way there. Then we are also very popular in the public sector. So this is a service called Bundescloud by the German government, run by ITZ Bund. So this is a service for all ministries in the German government using Nextcloud. Other example is the state of Schleswig-Holstein in the north of Germany. They are actually switching completely away from Microsoft and replacing it completely with Nextcloud. It's the complete state, the complete public administration, and they're very brave. They really move ahead. They think digital sovereignty is important, open source is important, local hosting is important. So I'm really happy that we're working with them since a while, and they're already in the middle of the transition. In a few more months, they will be fully switched over to Nextcloud. Then, of course, there's also other European countries like here, the French Ministry of Interior using also Nextcloud, and the Swedish government the same. So we're really happy about this adoption of local European alternatives. And now my last slide. Now I come a little bit to the advertising block. Sorry for that. For everybody who wants to know more about Nextcloud, that's actually in 2 weeks. It's our flagship event coming up in Munich. This is the Nextcloud Summit. So everybody is invited if you want to participate there. Also, if you want to have a free ticket, let me know. And yeah, everybody here in this call is invited to the event. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Thanks a lot. I hope we still have some time for questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And another great presentation. Ooh, do you mind stop sharing? Yes.
Yeah, looks
thank
confusing.
you. No, and don't apologize. Don't apologize for advertising the summit. I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing that this event is for, right? It's so that people can find out more.
Yep.
And it so happens that I'm already traveling at that date, but otherwise I would be very interested in going myself. There were a few questions about again about features. So clearly there are interested people on the chat, but I see that Nina has already answered a number of them, perhaps most of them. I also have like a few other questions. So for instance, you mentioned a complete migration from Microsoft to Nextcloud. Is that something that you have tooling or support for that kind of project?
Yes.
to make it easy? Because like, you know,
Yeah.
in most enterprises
Yeah.
that feels daunting, right?
Yeah, it is. So first of all, most of our customers migrate like piece by piece. I mean, like migrating everything from one day to another is probably not realistic. So usually you start with, I don't know, files or with a calendar or with the mail and do it step by step. And then, of course, we have some tools for some things. For example, the identity provider, like Active Directory, there's some tools to migrate stuff over. And then also we have partner companies. There's a company called Outriga, for example. They're specialized in doing SharePoint migration or Microsoft mail migration. And we do lots of customers projects together. So yeah, we are quite experienced there. We can help.
Right. No, that's great to hear, because it's often a hurdle in these transitions, right? And so another thing that struck me in your presentation is and you know, of course, this is a hot topic these days, but you have an AI assistant, and if I understand correctly, it's able to make use of the rest of the platform. It integrates into all kinds of tasks. It's not just like you know, a lot of tools these days have just like a random assistant chatbot slapped on the corner, and you don't know why it's there.
Yeah, that's boring.
But in your case, it's very integrated. Yeah, and it makes use of the data that people have in the platform, but without, you know, sharing it with you or etc., which seems quite different from
Exactly.
You know, the big American offering. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. I have not enough time in my slides to go into that, but I totally agree. This is actually the most interesting thing we are doing. So it's not just a chatbot, but actually an assistant that knows all my data. It knows all my files, all my emails, all my chat messages, all my calendar, everything. So you can really ask like, hey, what's going on in this project? Can you please summarize the latest support tickets? Can you see what is going on here with this customer or something? And it knows all my data, and everything is local, by the way, right? You don't need to be afraid that what is the AI doing with my data? Well, it's on your server. There's no bit going to the internet. And then the latest feature we added like this year is actually agent support. So you can also in the chatbot, you can write, hey, can you please book a meeting with my friend, whatever, John, next week when the sun is shining, and send in the invite like a nice picture of a cat or something, right? And it can do all those things. And that's quite exciting. Yeah.
No, that's definitely very interesting, because like I know a lot of companies are interested in that kind of feature when it supports greater productivity, but hate the fact that it's just like AI everywhere that does nothing, and that takes all the data while it's there. So no, I think that's a very interesting and very different approach compared to what's out there. One thing that I think is striking with Nextcloud is also, you know, a lot of the time when people think of smaller companies or European offerings, they imagine you know, things with fewer features, you know, less polished than the American competitors. But your offering is actually pretty huge. you have more feet. You were like speed running through those slides, and I know that you didn't even touch everything that you have. So are you finding that you need to like support your customers in like navigating the entirety of the offering, or like people just like tend to use too little of it and find out later that they can use more?
Yeah, I know my slides can be a bit overwhelming because it's so much in so little time. But the thing is, it's usually recommended that you just install like a basic Nextcloud, which has not all the features enabled. But then we have like we have an app store. Basically, you can go to the settings and you can see all the things that are available additionally. And then you can see and test it out and enable it and disable it and customize it to your needs. So I don't think there are two Nextclouds in the world that are exactly the same. People have different preferences. So you can really switch on and off and play with the features. Actually, I would not recommend to activate everything. It can be a bit overwhelming, but you can really make it your own. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
By the way, there was a question if there's a free offer, by the way. Let me just stress one more point because it's often misunderstood. So we only provide the software, right? You cannot really get an account from us. We don't do any hosting at all. We don't do any SaaS at all. So as Nina already answered, you can go to our website, you can download everything for free, but then you have to put it on some infrastructure you trust. It can be like a local server that you have, or you can put it on some cloud provider or somewhere else you trust. And so our site is free, but of course the hosting probably costs some money.
And on the site you list a number of providers that you have. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. No, that's great. And also, so like there was some news recently about Nextcloud because Google decided that they weren't interested in having you compete on Android with them. Can you tell us a bit about that, and also about like what it's like, competing with giants like that?
Yeah, this was an interesting experience. So I mean, of course, they didn't say it like that directly, but the fact is that basically our Android app has the purpose to synchronize your files on your phone with your server, right? That you have your documents always in your pocket on the go. That's the purpose of it. And for that, the Android app needs to access the local file system on the phone. Otherwise, it cannot synchronize the files, obviously. And we have this actually special permission to do that from Google since the beginning of Nextcloud, many years. And just last year, they decided to revoke this permission from us. So basically, the Nextcloud app could then only access your photos and your videos. You can still synchronize your photos, but not really your Office documents and other stuff anymore. And of course, this is like really bad because that's one of the main purposes of Nextcloud. And we tried to contact them via the usual ticketing system, and we always got like automatic replies. Yeah, this is for security, but of course it's bullshit, right? I mean, they're doing it themselves. Dropbox can do it, Microsoft can do it, everybody can do it, but just not us. Why is there a security problem with us and not the others? So there was, of course, a suspicion that is on purpose that remove this. Of course, we cannot prove it, but that's how it looks like. And with all the communication, you never get someone on the phone, right? You cannot really discuss it with anyone. So the only solution we saw is to go to the press to write a story about that. Quickly afterwards, Google came to us and gave us the permission back. So that's was in the end good, but yeah.
No, I thought I would mention it because it's a familiar story. Without naming any names, I've worked at companies before, including large companies that are household names in media, for instance, where Google or Apple would just like decide to like exclude you from the App Store overnight or remove a permission with no reason, and so that makes it always harder. But it's very inspiring to see that despite the amount of power that they exert, like you and the other two, Whereby and Proton are absolutely able to thrive and to offer great services in spite of that. So thank you very much, Frank. This is also a great third presentation. We're basically reaching the top of the hour. Thank you to all three presenters. Thank you to everyone for all the questions and the interest. Yeah, thank you very much to Digital SME for hosting this. This is going to be a series of events, and so today we've discovered three great European tech companies, and we're going to discover some more in future events. So stay tuned, and there's going to be a lot more of that. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.